Hi, good morning. Happy to be with you again this morning. And one of the things that is part of my regular routine is that I get up and I have a few different sources where I get what's called a verse of the day. And I look at those verses and I think about how they impact my life or how they should impact my life. And I think about, am I applying those verses in a way that I should, in a way that's good, not only for me, but for the people around me? Am I honoring God by the way I'm applying those verses? Am I living those verses in the way that I should? And so this morning I got up and I looked at a verse, and it was James 3:17 and 18 were the two verses. And those verses are pretty powerful, pretty special. They say, let me get over here to them. They say, "But the wisdom that comes from heaven is first of all pure, then peace-loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy and good fruit, impartial and sincere, peacemakers who sow in peace reap a harvest of righteousness." Wow. Peacemakers who sow in peace reap a harvest of righteousness. Powerful, powerful verse. Talking about the wisdom that comes from heaven and how we should be applying it to our lives. And as I read that and I thought about it, I was reminded of a story, or not a story, but a report about how Americans are reaching a point where anger in the United States, and really all over the world, is reaching epidemic proportions. Right now we're talking about going through this pandemic, and that's part of what's fueling it. People are getting frustrated. People are getting tired of the social distancing, especially, more than anything else. And but we're angry, and in that anger, we're not only angry at sort of circumstances and so forth, but we've lost our trust in each other. We're not living in a way that is peaceful with one another, but in a way that's adversarial with one another. Some are describing, a New York Times website says some are describing this as the anger epidemic, and part of it's unemployment, all sorts of other things. But we're not only angry with one another, but because of the anger with one another, we're afraid of one another, and we're not trusting of one another, and it's causing this disconnect between people. Only 1/3 of American people say that most people can be trusted. That's half of what it was 40 years ago, 30 years ago. Today, most people believe that other people can't be trusted. And I think part of it is because we're not seeking the wisdom from heaven. We're not seeking God's wisdom. We're not living our lives out as God would have us to live our lives out. We're not living our lives to be peaceful with one another and reap the reward of righteousness. We're not living the life that verse described. But the wisdom that comes from heaven is first of all pure, then peace-loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy, good fruit, impartial, sincere, peacemakers who sow in peace reap a harvest of righteousness. We're not living this way. We're living a way that says the only thing I care about first and foremost is looking out for myself. And we're angry with our circumstances. We look around at the world and we say, I'm not being treated fairly, or I'm not being treated justly. So-and-so over here, their life is so much better than my life, and their circumstances are better than my circumstances. And so I'm angry with why I'm not, why is it that I have to be experiencing this layoff? Or why is it that I don't get the good job at work? Or why is it that I'm not being treated fairly by my landlord? Or, the list just goes on and on and on. We're not willing to sow in peace. We're not willing to reach out and trust one another. We're not willing to be trustworthy. We're angry at each other. And so because of that anger, there's strife between us and there's disconnect between us. And sadly, that's not just true of those that are outside of the church, but that's true of those that are oftentimes inside the church. Now listen, I believe there are times among God's people where godly people can sincerely disagree. Our own denomination and many other denominations are going through this right now. Disagree to the point where we may not stay connected or may not stay in fellowship where we are working together in the same body, but that doesn't mean that there is ever a reason for animosity, anger, bitterness, hatred, where there's ever a reason for me to reach out and execute reprisals against a brother or sister. That doesn't mean that there's ever a right for me to slander and bash and hurt one another. For those that sow in peace, reap righteousness. Maybe you're angry today at something that's going on at work. Maybe you're angry at something that has gone on in your church. Maybe you're angry at the whole pandemic situation and the social distancing and the restaurants not being open and all of that. Maybe you're angry at all those things, but that does not mean that we should discard the wisdom of heaven and start living a life that is governed by anger. We have to be governed by the wisdom of heaven. If you're a believer today, you can't let the world set the standard for your behavior. Let the wisdom of heaven set the standard for your behavior. Well, my time is gone, and for some reason my camera keeps disconnecting from my phone. So to end this, I have to reach up and disconnect it manually or end it manually. But I hope you have a great day today. I hope your day is filled with love and joy and peace and all the things that I hope it's filled with things that fall from the wisdom of heaven. You have a great day. I will see you tomorrow, Lord willing.